Pil felt like the back of his head was about to be pierced. That's how intense Jin Jianwu's gaze was. He has good senses. Pil already knew that Jin Jianwu was suspicious of him. While Jin Jianwu didn't know that Pil was the assassin, it was clear Jin Jianwu thought Pil had something to do with the incident. It was not possible by any rational judgment or reasoning to remember the eyes he met once and associate himself with the assassin. So it was definitely a sense close to an instinct of an animal that made him reach that conclusion. It was the first time for Pil to meet a person like Jin Jianwu. So he found him interesting. If Jin Jianwu was suspicious of Pil by relying on his beast-like sense, Pil became interested in the human being, Jin Jianwu. So he acted ambiguously on purpose. Pil doesn't know why Jin Jianwu is looking for him, but if he observes him closely, he'll soon find out why. Keep your friends close and your enemies even closer. Although Pil had no friends, there were countless people whom he could call his enemies. And Jin Jianwu was now one of them. Pil stopped by a store run by Lim Quan-ok. Have you been well, master? Welcome. The workers welcomed Pil. To be precise, they welcomed Lim Quan-ok. Pil nodded and went inside. The workers did not know that the real Lim Quan-ok had already died a long time ago. That's because Steward Go had meticulously managed it. Inside the shop was Pil's residence. The entrance was operated by an engine, so anyone who did not know how to unlock it could never enter. The entry of workers was of course strictly prohibited. As soon as he opened the door, he was greeted with a large room. This was Lim Quan-ok's residence. While it had no windows leading to the outside, it had hidden machineries in the room. When Pil manipulated one of the machines, the floor opened and a staircase leading to the basement appeared. Pil went down the stairs without hesitation. The further down he went, the stronger the revolting smell came up. The stench was so bad that an average person would not be able to stand it. However, Pil continued to walk without an expression of disgust. At the end of the stairs, a canal full of filth appeared. All the filth thrown away by the people of Chengdu was discharged through the waterway where Pil stood. Pil stepped on the slightly protruding part above the waterway and walked. A foul-smelling filth was running under his feet. Even the demons of hell would be reluctant to approach a place where there's a smell that could shake even the soul. Pil paralyzed his sense of smell. He can enhance and develop his senses to the extreme, and he can also paralyze it at will. Thanks to this, Pil was able to walk freely even with the revolting stench. The waterway was like a spider's web, connecting the underground of Chengdu. As long as anyone could tolerate the repulsive stench of the waterway, they could freely go in and out of Chengdu. This was Pil's third den. This was a place that no one would dare to go. Most people don't even know this kind of place exists. Pil thought that this place suited him very well. Although he had disguised himself with the splendid appearance of a businessman, his essence was laid out more appropriately here, so he felt more comfortable. There were no lights, no maps. If an ordinary person entered, it was clear that they would lose their sense of direction and eventually lose their life. However, Pil walked forward without hesitation. After walking for a long time, he arrived at a dead-end waterway. Pil lifted his head and looked up at the ceiling. A faint light was seeping in. As Pil pushed the ceiling, a passage leading to the outside appeared. When Pil appeared, a voice was heard. Ugh! What's that smell? Oh? It's you, brother. The man who covered his nose and fanned his hands was Tang Sochu. Tang Sochu looked at Pil, who suddenly appeared from the floor with a frown on his forehead. The dead end of the waterway was directly connected to Tang Sochu's workshop. Wait. Pil radiated his chi to the outside. Pong! The terrible smell disappeared under the influence of chi. Only then did Tang Sochu release his hand, covering his nose. I told you not to pass through there. I couldn't help it. There's someone keeping an eye on me. Really? Who? Those from the outside. Did you do something suspicious? Not at all. Then why? I don't know. but I'll find out soon enough. Since I already threw the bait. There's never been a quiet day. Tang Socha shook his head. It's been quiet for the past few months, but something's already starting again. It was as if incidents would continue to happen wherever Pyowool was. Tang Socha had a feeling that as long as he was with Pyowool, he would not be able to escape from different kinds of commotion forever. But it's now too late for him to step out. It was not only because he was already deeply related with Pyowool, but it was also because of Tang Socha's nature not to leave a comrade. Who is it this time? The Golden Heavenly Hall. Aren't they a group of warriors? That's right. You're in Chengdu, which is basically in the middle of nowhere. Why are those warriors, whose pride soars to the sky, looking for you? We'll find out soon enough. How's the wrist armor? The work was done a little while ago. Hold on a second. Tang Socha went inside. A moment later, he came back and held a pair of armor in his hand. It was an item he made and gave to Pyowool in the past. Pyowool used the wrist armor well in the recent fight against 7 Stars. However, he felt some shortcomings and asked the Tang Socha to make some extra changes. Everything you said has been fixed. It will be much easier to use than before. Thank you. Wow. You've become a lot more human. To think words of thank you would come out of your mouth. Don't worry, it's a good thing. Tang Socha grinned. Tang Socha's smile bothered Pyowool, but nothing was more important to Pyowool than having his wrist armor fixed. Pyowool moved around with the wrist armor on his arm. He was certainly able to move much more naturally than before. Since you said that the threads were useful, I made some more. It's hidden in the upper part of the forearm, so use it when you need it. Okay. When he put on the armor, he felt as if he had recovered a part of himself. The armor seemed to keep him from losing his identity as an assassin. I'll use it well. TSK. It looks like you're going to use it sooner anyways. Tang Socha clicked his tongue. Predictions of this kind have never always been wrong. Unfortunately. The Thunder Clan had been empty for a long time. This is because Tae Yonho and Nam Hosen both lost their lives at the same time. 2 people who could be called pillars died, so it was natural that the sect could not be maintained. The front door, which was always wide open, was firmly shut. There was even wood nailed on it, so the door looked completely closed. People who lived nearby also knew that the Thunder Clan was closed. But one day, they saw the boards that had been padded on the front door of the Thunder Clan had been torn off. People approached the front door of the Thunder Clan just in case. The front door, which had been tightly closed, was wide open again. There were even warriors practicing martial arts inside. The warriors of the Thunder Clan, who the people had not seen for a while, have returned. The Thunder Clan is back. Their members started training again. The rumor that the Thunder Clan have opened their doors spread like wildfire. Most of the people who heard the rumors thought it was good. That's because the Thunder Clan's reputation was not so bad. When both the sect leader and young master died a tragic death, many people felt sorry for them. Closing the door of a sect the size of the Thunder Clan was also a huge loss to the people living nearby. Many people wanted to form a relationship with a clan from Jianghu, so they could be under their protection. At least for the people in the vicinity, the Thunder Clan was like a reliable protector. The guardian, who they thought was gone, had returned, so the residents welcomed the return of the Thunder Clan. But who ended up becoming the new sect leader? We'll find out soon, right? People wondered who the new master of the Thunder Clan was. However, they did not show any signs of movements because the internal maintenance had not been completed yet. Some people, unable to hold back their curiosity, went to the Thunder Clan directly and asked for a meeting or an interview with the new sect leader. However, the Thunder Clan flatly denied all of their requests. The reason they gave was they were using this time to clean up the internal affairs of the sect, rather than engaging with external activities. The reason they gave was so clear that people agreed and came out of the sect. However, unexpected words came out of the mouths of some people who visited the Thunder Clan. Isn't the atmosphere strange? I feel the same way. It felt like there were more faces I didn't know. People who lived nearby were well aware of the members of the Thunder clan. They couldn't say they knew everyone, but they got along with most of the members. However, when they visited this time, it seemed that there were more unknown faces than familiar faces. But the doubts of some were overshadowed by the voices of others. Since the sect leader died so tragically, there must have been a lot of agitation for the previous members, right? So of course a lot of people must have left. There's nothing weird about seeing new faces filling in the vacancy. Eventually, the reasoning of others buried the doubts others may have. People in the neighborhood were fully satisfied with the reopening of the Thunder clan. Thus, in the interest of the people, the Thunder clan quickly reorganized its internal system. At the center of it was Wu Jinghua. Wu Jinghua was one of the former disciples of Te Yonho, who was the previous sect leader. Although his martial arts were excellent, he was not able to stand out because he was covered by the shadow of Namhosen. However, he gained his sect members' trust because he was very loyal to the previous sect leader Te Yonho. When Te Yonho lost his life to Mu Zhongjin of the Qingqing sect, the person who grieved the most was also Wu Jinghua. Wu Jinghua and his disciples were imprisoned in a guest hall of the Qingqing sect and could not even hold Te Yonho's funeral. In the end, when the Qingqing sect suffered great damage from Pyawul, they managed to regain their freedom, but at that time, the Thunder clan had already suffered irreparable damage. While the members were imprisoned in the Qingqing sect, several people had trespassed the empty Thunder clan and robbed them of their wealth. In an instant, the Thunder clan became poor. In that way, Wu Jinghua and the rest of the disciples lost everything. The Qingqing sect was in a hurry to fix the damage they suffered from Pyawul, so they did not even apologize to the Thunder clan. Their resentment and anger against the Qingqing sect were as high as the sky. However, in reality, there was no way for them to take revenge on the Qingqing sect. So they called for someone. Wu Jinghua raised his head and looked at the person sitting in front of him. The person was sitting in the midst of Wu Jinghua's 5 disciples. It was difficult to tell whether the person was a man or a woman. His entire body was wrapped with a black cloth. Because of that, no one would be able to tell his real face, let alone his gender. The Thunder clan disciples didn't know if the person had wrapped the cloth around his body like this from the beginning, or if he was dressed like this only when he appeared in Jianghu. Hukum. He was the person sent by Hyalbul of the Xiaolialayan temple. He did not show up for a long time even after Wu Jinghua and the men returned to the Thunder clan. Because of that, the anger of the Thunder clan had risen to the top of their heads. They only believed in Hukum since he was sent by Hyalbul, but he seemed to have neglected his job and did nothing. Some disciples of the Thunder clan even went so far as to say that they were deceived by the sect leader of the Xiaolialayan temple. Hukum opened his mouth. Go up to MT Qingqing in 3 days. Are you talking about us? The preparations have already been made. All you need to do is climb MT Qingqing and ask them about their sins. Don't you have to tell us exactly what you've prepared so that we can trust you and act accordingly? You don't need to know this. Wu Jinghua's eyebrows twitched at the attitude of Hukum. While Wu Jinghua managed to suppress his anger, not everyone was so patient. Don't talk nonsense. We didn't go all the way to Xiaolialayan temple to bring you and hear you talk about that kind of bullshit. Li Chuyang, a fellow disciple of Wu Jinghua, shouted. Li Chuyang was greatly dissatisfied with Hukum, who had been acting arbitrarily without consulting them. So when he heard about Hukum's orders, he unknowingly exploded in anger. At that moment, Hukum disappeared from people's sight. Cook! Suddenly, a stuffy groan escaped from Li Chuyang's mouth. People were startled and looked at Li Chuyang. They saw the figure of Hukum suddenly standing in front of Li Chuyang. Hukum waved his hand toward Li Chuyang's face. People looked at him blankly, wondering what he was trying to do. That was then. Arg! Suddenly, Li Chuyang screamed and rolled over on the floor. Li Chuyang scratched his head and body with his fingernails. Although his flesh and muscles were torn, he did not stop his actions. He didn't stop scratching his body until he died. The appearance of Li Chuyang, whose body was stripped of its skin, was terrifying. Something was wriggling in Li Chuyang's blood, but no one caught notice of it. Hukum looked around the people and said, "Insulting me is like insulting the sect leader. I will never forgive anyone who insults sect leader Hyalbul." Huk. The people looked at Hukum with frightened expressions. "Oh my God! What have we done? We have summoned a demon." Only then did they realize that something was wrong. The voice of Hukum rang out again. "As I said previously, after 3 days, you will all climb up Mt Qingqing. Those who do not follow my instructions will end up the same as him."